Hi, it's Laura at Hyperstamper. I have the prettiest little journal today. It is a 1923 French book called Camembert, and I know it sounds like a cheese, but it's not. And I love up here it says Bibliothèque du Petit Français, the little French library. And this little sweetie is 4 3/4 by 7 1/4, and it's small, but I overstuffed it. So I did have to add a closure on here, and I added some vintage beads to the side and just some twine and modern ribbon. I did a little repair on the spine here because I did overstuff it. Even the spine is lovely. I hope you can see that beautiful gold and black. It's got this fantastic rooster up here, just the scrolling, and on the back it even has this lovely little CA, and that is well aged. And then inside it has the original little CA price tag from 1923, so I think that's very cool. So let's have a look. These are the original first pages, and everything in here is original antique ephemera, except for a few tea-dyed pages I added. So I added this little vintage stamp because it had the fleur-de-lis on it, and that is from 1955, and I wanted it to match sort of the French theme of this book. There's the original first page here, again, 1923, as you can see. Really nice feel to these pages, almost a glossy feel, really sturdy, a well-made book back in the day. And these are just some, this book was filled with these cartoons. They're French adult humor. And you might have some fun translating those in Google Translate. I got this also from 1923 from a different book. It was a music book, and I like this title, Somewhere Sometime. Very brittle, so I mounted it on top of some antique paper for journaling. And then another little vintage stamp and some feathers here. Journaling spot hidden underneath, there and there. Fun clusters in this journal. This is from 1892. Demarest's Family Magazine. Have a lot of fun with the images and articles on that page. 1955 Stamp Collectors Magazine. And there's actually some Brazilian stamps here, which I think are fabulous. And I pulled this really beautiful image from a children's book, a little boy looking at some stones on a rock by the ocean. And in here is just an antique book page that I liked the illustration on, and because it was sort of a sea-bearing picture, I put that in with the ocean. And back here I tucked in an antique photograph of a little boy. Isn't he sweet? I kind of love that one. And another 1890s Demarest's Family Magazine. And I put this one in because it's got these beautiful botanical images. Absolutely scrumptious. Love it. Tuck that back in there. Put this guy in here. And on the flip side, I put in an antique spine, interior spine there, turned it into a pocket, and put in this vintage plain card. I love the silhouette on that. And again, with the French theme, we've got the Paris, France Almanac page from April of 1938 during the war. And back here is one of these very special, done with an old pen and quill from 1910. This would have been somebody who wrote their own music, we think, as part of a lesson. And I would love to hear how that sounds. If I could read music, I would do that. But I encourage whoever gets this journal to do that. Maybe there's an app where you can do that and see how it sounds. This is an antique map of Great Britain, different places in Great Britain here in Isles. And here is one of the pages from the book. I just, because it was blank, which is very rare to find a blank page in an antique book for journaling. And just a vintage playing card from my neck of the woods, Niagara Falls here. And I love this book page title, Yesterday and Today. And the Three Peanuts. Isn't that hysterical? That's a vintage songbook. And look at this lovely everyday things and this wonderful children's book interior page. And it's got every fairy tale imaginable in there. Humpty Dumpty, Cow Jumped Over the Moon, just everything. It's wonderful. The Extraordinary Gal. And that is pulled out of a book. Great ephemera here. This is from 1951 from the Beacons Lodge Roll Call. a vintage botanical page. You'll see the better parts of it coming up. More children's book page images, lovely from the 40s. And then this is a book page from the 50s that's about the life of Queen Elizabeth and her family. Prior to that, really, really great images here. Look at the roses on that botanical page. They're really so beautiful, and those are original. Just hand stamped the word journal there. And this is from a vintage sewing book. And this is from 1917, a Great Britain postcard from Dovercourt. And I put in a little vintage glassine envelope, stamp collector's envelope, filled with vintage stamps, some antique stamps in there. 1930s Monopoly money, another fun vintage playing card, and a great 1950s fashion magazine page here. It's actually in German, but the images on here are spectacular. You're really going to enjoy that if this becomes your journal. And all that's made out of a pocket from 1920s music sheet. This is a player piano roll here from the early 1900s. And look at this wonderful colored image here. That is just, it's a reproduction of a lithograph, and I love it. This is from the early 1900s. It was a book about fashions from the medieval times, and this is the original onion paper. So this one is from the 1300s, this image. Full color plate there. I had to cut it down, which made me sad, but it had to fit in this book. More wonderful, colorful children's book pages. Lots of story pages. Here's a lovely little sparrow, and I put antique paper on the back of that as well. And because this is a small French library, bibliothèque, I added a vintage library card or pocket in there. I don't have any real cards, and I can't bring myself to print them, so just stuff them with other pieces. There's another piece from the book, really fun little cartoons, and another French piece here, Pippa Passes, that I put in here, and a really fun cluster there. Vintage recipe book page, cranberries, owls from the vintage bird book I have, another page from this book here, and it's a lot of fun. If you wanted to tear this out, you could, and collage with some of these wonderful French words. And that brings us almost to the end. A lovely piece out of a home ec book, how to set a table and do cooking. And that brings us to the back of the book. So this is going on Etsy momentarily, and it's hyperstamper.etsy.com, and I hope you'll subscribe so you can see more. Bye for now.